You're listening to the ADHD Support Talk Radio podcast. ADHD Support Talk Radio is sponsored by ADDclasses.com. Sign up now for a free webinar by going to www.addclasses.com. This is your co-host, Tara McGillicuddy, and I am back today to talk to you about being stuck in your head when you have ADHD. And I'm sure many of you listening can relate to being stuck in your head when you have ADHD. I know part of the reason why I've decided to talk about this today is because I have been really stuck in my head for the past few months, probably. Well, not really like all the time for the past few months, but it's been a theme for me over the past few months. So why do we do this? It's connected to ADHD and the way the ADHD brain works, and it's sometimes a way of self-medicating. When we are stuck in our head and we're ruminating or obsessing or going on and on about different things in our head, it stimulates our brain, which, you think it should help us get out of being stuck and move on to something else, but it's like this cycle. It's almost like we're addicted or dependent on our, I don't want to say crazy thoughts, because we're not, most of us aren't crazy, but we become dependent, and it becomes a cycle on I know Dr. Daniel Amen talks about them as automatic negative thoughts, and that's part of it, but we just go round and round. And there are simple strategies, solutions, things we can do to get out of our head. And one of the big ones is just doing something. Anything. Basically anything, instead of just sitting there thinking on and on again about, the stuff on your to-do list that you didn't get to 8 months ago that is still on your to-do list or whatever it is. Just picking something to do. It doesn't necessarily have to be the thing that you're stressing out about and overwhelmed about, but do something. Exercise is great when you're stuck in your head. And you don't have to go to the gym and work out for an hour. Start with like 5 or 10 minutes of walking, dancing, running, whatever it is. That can really help you. Grounding exercises, where you stand, take a few deep breaths in and out, feel your feet, pay attention to how your feet feel, if you're wearing shoes, how they feel in your socks and your shoes, how they feel on the rug, how your feet feel on the floor. And then also ground, where you do this visualization or intention. You imagine that your feet are forming roots going through your floor, going through the ground and connecting to the earth. That's something that you can become grounded. Do that, and that's something that takes moments. That's not like saying, okay, you have to go sit and meditate for an hour to get out of your head. No, that's not it. Meditation for some people can help, but for some of us, if we're really, really stuck in our head and we try to meditate, we just get further stuck in our head. So while meditation can be helpful, if you're really in that mode where you're extremely stuck, taking action, moving your body may be more helpful than meditating. I'm not saying don't meditate, but for a lot of us, taking action is more helpful than sitting and meditating. Like I said, taking action, and I know some of you who have participated in my action groups over the years, the productivity circle, the group action session, and I'm actually offering one for free on December 18th at 12 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be a 2-hour free action group, and basically we're going to be taking action for 2 hours during that time, working on concrete projects and tasks. So it can be, you choose what you want to do. It can be taking out the trash, making a phone call. One of the things I don't allow during this action session is planning, because part of the reason I do these is to get out of your head and take action and move forward. And for some of us, planning, we can plan too much. We keep over planning, and we don't take action. And planning is a great strategy. It's just not something we use during the action group. And if you want to learn more about this action session, go to adultaddproductivity.com. And if you catch this after the 18th, there'll be more action groups coming up, and I will be offering a membership community for the Productivity Circle action sessions in 2020. So this works well. These action groups, because we have a bunch of people coming, and we all do stuff together. We work for about 20 minutes on something, come back and report in our success, work for another 20-something minutes, come back, and it works really well. And it gets us out of our head in doing things. So that's one strategy. Another strategy that can be helpful to get out of your head is to process the things in your head, the ideas. And that can be with a friend, that can be with a coach, and even like what I'm doing now, speaking into a recording, doing this podcast, I am processing some of my thoughts and moving out of being stuck into my head and getting it out by voice, by talking. So, it can be beneficial just to simply speak like this, or to talk to somebody else, whether it's a coach, a friend, a mental health professional. And if you talk to somebody else, not just doing what I'm doing, speaking out loud, you get feedback. You get people to mirror, what you're saying, to say, okay, this is how I understand it. So not only are you getting the thoughts out of your head, you're interacting with somebody else. So that's something. And then writing. I know people with ADHD, people always suggest, journal. And, journaling can be great. But what happens is people say, okay, you need to journal every morning for a half hour every single day. And yeah, for those of us with ADHD, we may start out doing that for 8 days, 15 days, and then all of a sudden we stop. And it's really hard to get back into it because we're like, oh my gosh, we failed again. But journaling, it doesn't have to be every day. It doesn't have to be for a set amount of time, but just when you've noticed that, okay, I'm stuck in my head, I've been stuck in my head, I'm not moving forward, just get out a piece of paper and a notebook and maybe set a timer for, let's say, 5 minutes or whatever the time is for you, and just write. It could be you jotting down some words. You can be writing paragraphs. You can be writing a story. If you're someone who's artistic, maybe instead of writing, you draw or paint or something. But these are ways to get out of your head. It doesn't have to be that you're writing or painting about whatever's in your head. It can just be you're shifting the energy, you're shifting your thought pattern and doing something else. And then I think paying attention. Oh my gosh, I'm in my head. I've been in my head. How long have I been in my head? And is this helpful? Sometimes, because we go from one extreme to the other, a lot of us with ADD and ADHD, is we can be somewhat impulsive where we don't think about things at all and we just do it. And sometimes that can be great. Sometimes it works out really well for us. And I know we've all heard this, think before you speak, or think it through before you do it. So sometimes, because we've been told that, we've heard that over and over again, as children, as adults, that can be connected to part of the reason why we're so stuck in our head, because we've been told multiple times to think before we do things. And so it's finding that balance, or what works for you. Yes, pay attention to, okay, it's important to think things through, to not act out of impulse or react, but question yourself. How is the amount of time I've been thinking about this, the amount of time in my head, is it working for me right now? Am I, if I'm thinking about a purchase, all right, I didn't make the purchase impulsively and spend too much money, but if I've been thinking about 3 months about what color paint I should buy to paint my room, that's not helpful either. So it's dependent, it's different for each person, but really just become mindful of it and pay attention to it. And you can go from, there's something in between the thinking and the impulsively acting and doing something, and the things I talked about, the writing things down, talking it out with somebody, or just getting it out of your head. So these are things to really think about, and I gave you a few strategies, and I really hope you'll consider checking out my Adult ADD Productivity Circle, and it is the one on the 18th next week is a complimentary session. I will be charging a small monthly fee in 2020, but there'll be multiple sessions offered, and I'm working on some type of membership community option. I'm researching what the best format. I'm not going to do a Facebook group. I mean, Facebook groups, we have those for this site, for this podcast as a membership for that, a Facebook group for that. But I'm working on what's going to work best. It might be more of a chat app, but adultaddproductivity.com. All right. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this ADHD Support Talk Radio podcast episode. And I challenge you to first think about, become mindful, pay attention to how much time you're spending in your head. Are you thinking too much? Are you stuck in your head? And if you are, try one or all three of the things I talked about. Okay, thanks so much for listening. This is Tara McGillicuddy, and remember, ADHD Support Talk Radio is sponsored by ADDclasses.com. Sign up now for a free webinar by going to www.addclasses.com.